Oh my! Did I just eat that whole thing? Oh, where'd you come from?
That's a familiar feeling, my friend.
Who are you? Why are you in my house?
Excellent question. You called me, but you forgot about it. I'm one of the QGE, Quality Guidance Experts.
What?
The quality guidance experts have helped me when I have overserved myself terpene cookies.
Who are you?
Oftentimes, paranoia will create a hostile environment and will not create a wonderful experience with terpenes. That's why they're available 24/7, 365.
Where are you coming from? I swear I locked the door.
That's why I'm here. That's why the QGE exists. Do you feel like someone is in your house, even though you've locked the door?
Ha! I knew it.
Call the Quality Guidance Experts. We will help to reassure you of your sanity. Call us anytime at 1-800-OIC-U812.
I didn't call anyone.
That's 1-800-OIC-U812. And yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Get out. Get out.
Sir? Are you still there?
Huh? What's going on?
Thanks for calling 1-800-OICU-812. We can tell by your breathing you've came to. I'm glad the QGE could be of assistance.
Thank you, 1-800-OICU-812.
And cut. Nice. Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and don't tell Trudy, but I didn't have my new special notebook to take notes in today. I just had my old one that I used to use, but that's just between us.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and I'd rather be drinking mead.
I am Marcus Whitaker, also known as I'm Electric Man, also known as some sort of eldritch abomination.
I'm Austin Tiny Zent, and I still didn't interrupt anybody today.
The streak continues.
I'm so proud
Don't
of me.
encourage him.
Welcome to Nerd It Through the Grapevine. It's a podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. Today, Austin Shazam Pfeiffer goes first. And he's gonna talk about
I'm going to talk about traditions.
traditions.
And traditions are what form foundations.
Like houses?
Pretty much. A weird thing that I got into, because I was just thinking about, what are you looking forward to in the new year? That's kind of what I wanted to get a topic going about.
Nothing.
Like what in the new year is exciting you about nerdism? So like what's coming? What is making you excited for the new year? That's where I wanted to go. And everybody gets one. Hit it. Go.
Hold on. You said traditions.
I know, but I'm getting to that. You're where I started right now.
Okay.
I started at.
This is where your hole began.
Yes.
So we're starting at the top of your hole.
And you're going to fall with me.
We're going to fall into your hole.
Oh, man.
We got to start outside of it.
It's going to get dark.
So we got to find your hole.
Yes.
And jump into it.
Exactly.
Did
I need
anyone spit on it?
We got
No,
not yet.
You don't need to think about it that way. Think
Just
about it.
enter your hole.
You are in the Amazon jungle. You have, for some reason, got a parachute backpack, and there's this open waterfall hole, and you're about to just dive into it.
Oh, it's a wet hole.
Yes, it's a wet, gaping hole in the Amazon.
But wait, I'm afraid of heights.
I'm ready. It's fine. It goes deep.
You have a double backpack.
You don't have to worry
I'm
about
also
high.
afraid of depths.
Nobody ever talks about their fear of depth.
That's
Everybody
true.
only talks about their fear of heights.
I've
That
been
is
into
true.
caves before, and I'm telling you right now, caving is not made for somebody that is built like me. It's not made for somebody that's built like Zent. We're big boned brothers. We're
Yes, we
not
are.
made to fit in tiny gaps and spaces and to wiggle your body in ways it's not supposed
We
to
are
wiggle.
big, beautiful, beardedly boned brothers.
So many bees.
Oh,
I feel like I am in 6th grade again.
What am I excited for?
Yeah.
Coming next year.
I'm excited that hopefully some of these book publishers may open back up and start putting out some of these books that I'm looking forward to.
So a lot of book publishers haven't been publishing anything?
As far as I
From
understand it, I mean,
pandemic
at least certain ones, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that doesn't seem like a profession that it would require like meeting in buildings.
yeah. Well, I just know one of my favorite authors, Stephen Erickson, has a book done, but it's just the simple fact that there's no one there to like
They can't read it at home.
to bind it. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
binder. I don't know.
Binding?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
It's one of those little things in the works.
Book binding is an art
I didn't know
in
he was into
itself.
bondage.
Secrets only the Sith know.
Unnatural.
But yeah, hopefully if some things, you know, get back on, maybe we can have like movies in theaters again.
I can't imagine it now. I can't imagine it now. Yeah. I'm lying. I can imagine it now. I still play music in bars. I'm not contributing.
Well, plus some of us have, you know, a ticking immunity. Like, you know, some of us have actually already had it, so we get a little bit
75%. 75% of the people at this table.
Yeah, we've actually all had it,
Except
for
me.
you.
Yeah.
So we're
immune.
still in our immunity phase. At least that's what they, you know, as far as I understand it as well. I don't know
What they say.
what they say.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
The government, man.
So yeah, hopefully something like that in the
need-
nerd realm, like movies and books. Will
I
come.
need most things of entertainment we're behind right now, just because
Right,
they've had to put a hiatus on pretty much everything with movies and video games, which we probably would have more titles right now for like the new Xbox and PlayStations, like if this weren't a thing this past year. But it usually takes longer than a year to make something. But I'm sure plenty of companies have had ideas and been working on stuff, but now they've had to take an entire year off of doing it. Mm-hmm. But
or at least slow the pace down. Or
yeah, I don't know. Maybe theaters, I'm fine with it. Like now we've got streaming services that are putting out movies right away, like for us at home, which is something I've thought they should do for forever because they can still make their money, but you know, I get to be at my own home on my couch, and ours here doesn't serve alcoholic beverages, like Marcus, you mentioned the other week. Like you wish they did that. Well, now they do because it's your own house. But
touche.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking. I think what I'm looking most forward to, which probably won't be something this next year, but is where that technology that I talked about with Industrial Light and Magic, with the screens, like the way they're doing sets now. I'm excited to see where that's going with the next, like their next things. Like, is The Witcher second season going to use it? I'm excited to see if they do, like how that speeds along the process of filming and if it makes it better or worse than it was before. I don't know. I think that's what I'm most excited for. It's just where these revolutionary things that are happening now, like where they're going to go and how soon they're going to be used. Because I think that's something that's going to be used ASAP, like really quickly, especially if the same company is going to be working on a different title.
Right, yeah.
So
they'll still have access to the same equipment and stuff. Yeah.
Tiny, you excited about anything?
I don't know. I've not really thought about it any. I mean, the KFC console is pretty exciting if it actually becomes a thing.
You're still in the aroused phase.
I am. I'm working through the three stages. I'm just kind of just hoping everything kind of chills over the next year, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody's been such in a tizzy about everything, and I just want it to be chill and relaxed and everybody to be happy. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really all I want.
Well said.
The things that I'm looking forward to the most next year kind of revolve around the podcast. Because, I mean, I'm playing music a few places next year that I know that are going to be really fun if everything is able to stay open and it's within reason. But I look forward to the podcast. I look forward to just everybody gathering together and us being able to talk about this kind of stuff, you know, and I don't know. I'm thankful for that, and I'm looking forward to it. Not to mention, we're not like the Cyberpunk creators. We're not going to release our content until we know it is ready. But Journey Through the Grapevine is going to be fantastic.
Yes, that hasn't been mentioned in a while because we haven't really got to work on it much, but we're gonna. It'll be a thing.
We're taking our time.
Yeah.
I was researching New Year's resolutions just because I wanted to know what kind of government conspiracy was behind this, because to have everybody have that one specific thing that's going to boost businesses for specific directions, you know, just like it's like something was, no, it has ancient religious grounded 4,000 years ago kind of stuff. The ancient Babylonians were the first people to celebrate a New Year's resolution when they made sacrifices to their gods of the newly planted harvest. But they only celebrated that as their new year every beginning of March. What we would know as March. And in Rome, Julius Caesar was the first one to actually put into effect a beginning of a year being in January. And that was about 46 BC. And
Which is dumb because it's cold before the beginning of the year and cold after the beginning of the year. Pick a season for the beginning of the year to start. Right? Am I right, guys? Am I right?
I don't know. Well, it depends on. I mean, they may have had a different climate where they were.
Yeah,
January
that's true. Fine.
January was named that after the god Janus, the two-faced god whose spirit inhabited doorways and arches. So January was meant to be an archway between the old and the new.
Step through with me into the new year.
And now we get... I'm gonna lose about 15. I'm gonna lose about 15. That's just my number. That's if I get there, I get there. If I didn't, I tried. February 3rd. I mean, I gave it my best shot. So it used to be like this big deal. People used to sacrifice, they used to sacrifice like livestock, and the ancient Babylonians, I'm sure there were child sacrifices and all that goobly gob.
The Babylonians.
If the movies tell me a thing,
I'm gonna believe it.
but it's just, it was neat. It was neat to see the transition and how it degraded from this, big, epic, super religious, super, like this has to happen or we might all die kind of event to just a shooing away of tradition to the point to where it's just like, oh yeah, that's the day. Hey, we did it.
We did it.
Drink, 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 drink.
Yeah.
Drink, 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 drink. I'm not drinking anymore tonight.
Not anymore this year. Well, this year, when it passes, we do have a reason to drink to forget our past.
Oh man, I'm glad I don't work for one of those Bradford helpline kind of situations to where you've got to help people becoming alcoholics and wanting to get away from that kind of stuff, because I can only imagine what a time like this
year
is. Yeah.
They're just like, I know, man. Like, that's pretty much all they can say is, no, we get it.
They take a big gulp while they're on the phone. What you drinking?
You mentioned the working out thing, like the New Year's resolution of I'm going to go work out. I'm going to start working out. I feel like if you already do that and you're already a person who works out regularly, like January is the month that you decide to take off because the gym is going to be flooded with all of these new people, which is great because some of those people are going to keep doing it. But to just now the idea of being in a gym that's just filled to the brim with people that's my nightmare at the moment.
Yeah, and especially a gym where you got to wipe down everything that you use, and it's very clean, and it's not that I don't appreciate that. It's just that when I'm going by myself from machine to machine, and I can do that quickly. With other people, it's a process. They don't have a step-by-step guide in their brain to, I'm done with that. I've done my allotted amount of time that I need to on this. I'm going to move on. No, people got to sit and talk. Gym sit talkers make me so upset. Gym sit talkers,
They make me so angry.
it is impossible.
That's Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes.
Gymnasiums, like the origin of gymnasiums used to be a lot different. There was a whole traditional kind of thing that relates to as well, like with the Greeks and all that.
With the chatting?
Yeah. Like it was more of a place to kind of go. It was like a place for men to go and like.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
There's no need to feel
there was
down.
some weird stuff,
Young
that
men.
happened and stuff, but it was more of like a mentorship. Like there would be like this, like younger man, boys who are becoming men would go in there with older men to learn about all kinds of stuff. So how did the traditions factor into your topic?
Because I wanted to know, I got into just thinking about what I was looking forward to in the next year, and I started to kind of look forward into the new year, and I got to thinking, like, there's people that actually look forward to the new year because they really do believe new year, new you. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of tied in my head because that's where the wormhole went for me. So I brought you with me.
It's really just a way of procrastinating, like, because you could start anything right now. Like, instead, it's like, at the beginning of the year, that's when I'm going to start it. But that also puts you on this weird timetable of when you're probably going to quit. Like, as opposed to just start, if you just start at a random time in the middle of, nowhere, like, I think the chances of you quitting might be a little bit lower. Like if you just started out of nowhere. And plus, if you don't tell anybody about it, if you're going to be posting it all over social media that I started working out. Oh, look at this. Day 1 transformation, day 2 transformation, day 3 transformation, all this other crap. Like, that's just really annoying to me, but it's also not how my brain works. Like, if I'm going to do something like that, I don't tell anybody. Like, by
it's almost like that's
someone.
what people do when they don't actually even subconsciously intend to do what they're.
Yes.
It's like they keep saying, if I just say that I'm going to do it and everybody knows that that's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
It's like then they don't even actually have to try to do it.
I love working out. Whenever I get into my phases to where I'm actually like dedicated and committed to it, like I love it. It's something I look forward to. I love doing different exercises to shape different body parts, and it's really neat. And this man, Detour, was my project. Mm-hmm. And I got him an apple in that arm.
Mm-hmm. Pretty quickly. We'll be back.
It was
Hey,
awesome.
I got an idea. At the beginning of the year, let's start working out again.
A new tradition.
And we're not going to the gym. We're going to do it here at the house.
Yep. Bingo.
Thank you. I knew
Shoot
it.
for a
Thank you.
grapefruit.
Or you could just make your own tradition. That's what me and my friends one
Oh,
time I was thinking about.
that's gonna
let's
be
make up our own holiday that we get together for every year, always.
Friends Giftmas for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's like it's one that's actually kind of crept. It's become a tradition, kind of.
Oh yeah,
And
friends.
It's like
Friendsgiving
people know what you
and
mean when
Friendsmas
you
are
say
a thing.
Friendsgivmas.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that my new thing is going to be I'm going to drink mead. I'm seriously
start drinking.
I'm serious.
well,
I absolutely love that stuff.
But we have to figure out the the underpinnings of the holiday and what does it mean. Like,
What does it mean?
what does it mean to you?
If
You know,
it gets
like,
into me
what
having
symbolic meaning does
as
it
long
have?
as I don't have to start worshiping the old gods, I think I'll be fine.
I mean,
No, if
but
you start
maybe-
drinking,
but
maybe
at
it's
that,
cool.
But at that point, if Wednesday shows up to my house,
or Thor Thursday.
so you're gonna
Thor's Day?
Your goal, the underlying goal, is for you to
Become an alcoholic.
be kind. Bees make honey. Honey makes mead. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You mead to be.
I was way off.
and that is
Better.
actually
Is that it?
that could be a true statement because the Savannah Bee Company, located in Savannah, Georgia, does have a very good and delicious line of meads that are made from their locally sourced honeys that they have.
Where have you read this?
I experienced it. I went there.
Oh, I didn't know you had mead before yesterday.
I didn't buy their mead because I didn't understand why it would be so expensive.
But now you know.
Yeah, and the mead that I tried that was the only one that had to sample was the one that was more like wine instead of traditional mead. Blew my mind.
It was quite delicious.
You know what else is going to blow my mind and be delicious?
Yes, sir.
Tiny's topic.
Here we hit it.
Whoa. So I'm going to answer questions you didn't know that you had. Did you know that there are 7 fighting forms to the Jedi lightsaber?
I
fighting?
did, but should I say no just to make it
Yes,
sound?
yes,
should
you're
I not-
supposed to say no.
Listen,
Okay, sorry.
I've heard about this, but I still am unclear on it.
Okay. So, Form 1 is called Shicho, the Way of the Sarlacc. It's like bottom of the barrel basics. It's what they teach to all the younglings. It's characterized by unpredictable, angular strikes intended to disarm an opponent. Think more like medieval sword fighting, because when Shicho was first put together, they were just transitioning from bladed weapons to lightsabers.
Oh.
So it's kind of clunky and it's less fluid than the other styles. And it's
Makes
good
sense.
for large groups of enemies. So everybody that is a Jedi is a master of Shicho, because it's what you fall back on. Style 2 is Makashi, the Way of the Samaril. And I probably slaughtered that. It was developed to address the known weaknesses in Form 1. It's generally a one-handed fighting style that emphasizes precise moves with simple footwork. And most practitioners who use this form have curved hilted lightsabers.
I was fixing to say Dooku probably used this
Count
form too
Dooku.
because of his
Yes.
fencing style.
Exactly.
It's more of a fencing
exactly.
style.
That was the style that he used pretty much exclusively.
His was my favorite fighting style.
He did do this epic flip off the stairs for no reason. That I noticed that in my rewatch.
Was
of,
that an attack?
I think it was in the third one.
Oh no,
It's when he comes into the.
I can't talk about it. We haven't rewatched it recently. We're on a roll.
Well,
We're
get
getting
ready
to
for
it.
that epic. Just like he walks into the room and he just does a flip off the stairs for no reason.
I can't because I already knew he was going to get sliced in half the way he got sliced in half. I called that. I made that in a fan film. It doesn't exist. I've looked. But just go on, Tiny.
Okay. It was primarily used by Count Dooku, Ki-Adi Mandi, and Asajj Ventress. Style 3 is Sarishu, the way of the Minok. It's tight, efficient movements that shield the body. Its primary focus was to deflect blaster bolts. So Obi-Wan Kenobi used this a lot. Luke Skywalker used this a lot, running through the field, covering his body with a saber. Style number 4 is Ataru, the way of the Hawkbat. And it is quick movements with force-assisted acrobatics.
Yoda.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
And Ahsoka a little bit too.
I'll get to her because
Okay.
I knew you would ask.
She's got a
So,
few. Hers is a fusion. Of a
There
couple
was
different ones.
4 used in her episode of The Mandalorian.
Fantastic.
But this style is very fierce. It's made to try to end the battle quickly. So it's not used for a long game. Style 5 is like a combination style. It's Xi'an and Jimso, the way of the Crate Dragon. The Xi'an portion is used defensive moves to deflect blaster bolts back at the enemy. Not just deflect them, but actually use that energy against them. And Jimso is basically the same, but in like 1v1 lightsaber duels. So it's using somebody's energy against them. Popular users of this is Darth Vader and Plo Koon.
In my head, I'm guessing these names before you say them in my head, but I'm like, I don't want to talk too much. But I'm very happy with myself for knowing
you should just steal
just
all
by the
of the-
description of how they fight. I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably this. And then you say it, and I get all
Yeah, you're like, I knew it, but I didn't know it. Yes. Style 6 is Neimon, the way of the Rancor. It's basically a combination of the previous 5 styles. What is that I have wrote down?
I get it. I feel you, brother.
Yeah, I was reading and writing really quickly. It's used in combination with force pushes and pulls. It was used by Darth Sidious and Darth Maul. And Style 7 is Juyo, the way of the Vornsker. It's used pretty much exclusively by the Sith. They're channeling their emotions and their fury and all their dark side energy into their fighting.
except for Mace Windu.
I'll get to there.
Shoot. This is why I've not been talking too much.
Juyo is, you see it a lot with Darth Maul and with Kylo Ren. And Mace Windu made a variation of Juyo called Vapad. So he used that as a way to channel his dark side emotions and feelings and to flush it from himself, keeping him in that Zen-like Jedi state. So, very cool stuff. And just because it's recent and I knew somebody would ask, Ahsoka Tano, she uses Shicho when she teaches the younglings, because like we went over, that's the basics. In the fog scene, she's using Ataru. And she uses the Xi'an Jimso when she's fighting the Magistrate. And then like in Rebels, when she breaks away from the Jedi, she actually makes her own variant of Neimon called Jarkai. So she actually makes her own fighting style. There's a couple of minor ones used by former Jedis, but Ahsoka being the most recent, introduced into like movie canon. I was like, and I know it's Dane's favorite, so he's probably going to ask. So I'm going to put that in there too.
Yeah.
And as I'm going through the research, I'm like, you can pick out what people are doing once you kind of understand the fighting style a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It's super cool.
If you could just take out the entire rest of the movie besides the lightsaber duels, Attack of the Clones was phenomenal.
Well, and knowing some of the styles, it makes some of the fights make a lot more sense. Why Obi-Wan was so susceptible to Darth Maul when they was in that like reactor core area, he didn't have room to use his Ataru, which is what he was primarily used. So, because it takes a lot of space and it wasn't there, and then so Darth Maul was able to just dominate.
Yeah, and I think with Ahsoka making her own style as she got older and separated from the Jedi, it seems like the style that she and Yoda would use, like whenever she was younger, is it's made for a smaller frame, kind of, with the acrobatics and being able to float around and fly around and stuff, which I think Maul uses a little bit of that as well. I think he uses that plus like the 7th style and the 6th style. Like Maul's got a lot of different styles that he uses.
Maul was proficient in all fighting styles,
Yeah.
But he primarily used 6 and 7.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean the pure strength of having that dual bladed lightsaber.
Right.
But
and then all the dark side fury emotions and all that playing into it.
Yeah.
And it all circles back to Rey.
Yay. Yeah, she uses actually probably more of the first style because she doesn't really get much training with fighting with a lightsaber. So hers are more, like you said, angular, just kind of swings. But I don't know.
In that last one, she was like doing them flips when the waves were coming in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some force-assisted acrobatics.
It's just due to her lineage that she was able to focus and channel all of the previous Force users because she was the actual balance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Luke used so many of the styles that I'm just like, I'm not going to annotate all this.
Yeah.
And same with Anakin and Darth Vader, because you can say they're the same person, but they're kind of not.
No.
So it's like those I kind of left out of most of it because I'm like, well, I'm just writing the same names over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just going to muddy the water here, as opposed to people that you primarily see using different things like Yoda and his Ataru. It's like, oh, okay, so now you can recognize what that looks like, and then you can look at other characters and go, okay, that's what they're using here, and this is what they're using there. Because, like we've always went, why did Obi-Wan get defeated by Darth Maul so easy? Why was that a thing? And then you learn, because he does this, he's not proficient with this, and that's what makes it difficult.
You mean Qui-Gon?
I meant Qui-Gon.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I actually was
bad
going to
person.
ask, what? It just made me think, like, what does Qui-Gon use? So you answered my question.
He was pretty basic. He was just my favorite of the Jedi.
I think it's actually in these notes.
He was my favorite of the Jedi just because of his diplomacy and the way that he treated just the aspects of just everybody being an equal.
Plus, he was semi-roguish, if I'm not mistaken,
I'm
right?
all
So he
about,
wasn't.
I'm all about that life.
Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah,
I
'cause
like
the
the ones that don't follow all the rules.
The council did not want him to take Anakin in at all.
Well, that might have been an actual pretty good little foresight, though.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about the prequels is that whole thing is murky, and that the Jedi are pretty obviously flawed.
Oh yeah.
In those times.
Did you have it in your notes?
I just had him down as Ataru. It's
Okay.
probably one of those names I kept seeing repeatedly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But-
Well, I mean, I'm a
'Cause he
fan
used
of
all of
I'm a
them.
fan of the gray. I mean, it's something that's seldom talked about, and it's not really in canon because the light side is very this is black, this is white, and it's the same with the dark side. And the gray is like, hey, we can function in both. And you see examples of that, like in Luke, in a lot of ways, because he dresses like a Sith. He force chokes the guy outside Jabba's palace. So he, you could say that he operated in the gray more than the light side.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have much training with actual Jedi, did he? Like as far as I remember, because they were all gone except for Yoda. Like he spent some time with Yoda, and besides like Force spirits guiding him,
Right.
and
Well,
Obi-Wan
it
for like a
didn't
couple
really
days.
delve into it in the movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in other books because his story goes 1,000 different directions.
Right.
But
Well, especially in Legends.
I
Right.
do like the idea though of like there being like some sort of breaking point with the dark side that just makes you slip into literally just a bad guy. I don't know, just a breaking, like a falling point, like they've fallen from the light in a sense. I like that idea, but I don't know if I've ever seen it in any Star Wars movie really executed very well. I mean, it's fine to just introduce a villain who's already fallen,
Right.
but with the whole Anakin thing when he fell, but he goes from we go from like rooting for him to literally in the next scene he's killing children.
Right.
So it's like I just feel like
Spoilers. Not my Anakin.
anyway, you see what I mean though. I think that's an interesting.
Not my Anakin.
Yeah, it's an interesting notion. Like the gray, but then there should be, I think, at some point you able to operate in both, but then at some point, if you go too far in the darkness.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, I think there's like a transitionary period because you start off like, oh, I'm Mr. Goody Two Shoes. I'm like Superman. I only do good stuff. And then you're like, well, it kind of feels good to do bad sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, or like doing certain things where the ends justify the means. That slips you into that gray area. And then if you dabble in that too much because you like the way it feels, then you're going to slip into the dark and you're like, oh, I really like this. And so you stay there because that's what we see with Anakin. I mean, if you read the books, the transition is better because, you see that gradual slide as opposed to that sudden shift.
Yeah.
Speaking of a sudden shift, Marcus, your topic? Ooh, killing these transitions, baby. Getting good.
But it is a bit
But it is a bit.
But it is a bit.
of a change of pace. And I know that Detour does not like spookies.
No,
That's
I'm out
true.
of here. Bye.
Brown chicken, brown.
Well, my topic is what you would call a subgenre of horror.
Okay.
But to me, it's like the only kind of horror I really like. Well, I'm not going to say it's the only kind, but it is definitely a subgenre of horror, which I'm not the biggest fan of until you mix in sci-fi and fantasy elements.
Okay.
Right?
Now I'm with you. Yes.
I mean, because horror in itself could be kind of considered a fantasy element in a lot of modern like horror type movies. Like think of The Ring. Like there's a supernatural element going on.
yeah.
It's played for its pure horror rather than, ooh, look, magic. This is a fantasy world. But it still kind of fits the same bill. But I'm actually want to talk about cosmic horror.
Ooh.
Does anybody
See, this
does that
doesn't
ring a
spook
bell
me.
for
The
anybody?
idea of this doesn't spook me.
Yeah, see, it does me, but it's in such a cool way and fun
Let me
way.
think here.
Is this more of like an
There's-
eerie, like ethereal?
I just want to hear what y'all
kinda
think.
thing?
I just want to
You
hear what
talking
y'all
about
think.
like-
I've
like
seen a
Brightburn?
movie.
Hold on, one at a time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm trying to
all-
field all these questions.
You're all talking at the same time.
You go first.
I've seen a movie. It has the word horizon in it.
Event Horizon.
That movie rocked. As far as what you're talking about, like a space horror, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So is that what you're talking about, or something
Well,
more
just
like
what do you
like
know about,
Brightburn? I don't know what you're talking about.
What does it make you think
I mean, things kind of like Brightburn. It's supernatural, but it's not in a way because it's like he's bad guy Superman, but he's a boy, so bad boy Superboy.
Right. Yeah.
That's just kind of where my mind went.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I hear cosmic horror, I think of this like overarching like eerie thing that's existing much larger than say like a hack and slash guy or an alien or something like that. It's just this overwhelming giant sense of fear happening that's beyond scale.
Absolutely.
Is that what it is?
You nailed it. No, you totally nailed it. And you all did in your own way. But
No, you
got,
didn't.
you
Both
got
of you were
closer.
stupid. I got it right.
You definitely got closer to like the textbook definition
Oh,
that
cool.
I kind of looked up. Does the name H.P. Lovecraft ring
Oh yeah.
a bell?
I actually
Right.
just got all of his works in one book.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
you might be able if you go to Ollie's, the bargain
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
They had it there for like $5 or something,
Nice.
and it's giant.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I've never read him before, so I was excited.
I'm actually not all that familiar with cosmic horror, but it is in theory so cool to me. And I have read a few Lovecraft stories, like the Call of Cthulhu. I think that's like pretty much the classic. But it's interesting. Edgar Allan Poe is actually kind of listed as kind of in this vein. It's just an earlier example of it. But
how old is Lovecraft?
he died in 1937,
Oh, okay.
born in 1890.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not
huh?
that long.
Yeah, so what I've just written down here, it's a subgenre of horror. They call it cosmic horror and Lovecraftian horror kind of interchangeably. I mean, Lovecraft is basically the granddaddy of all cosmic horror, especially in the modern sense. But it's a subgenre of horror. It emphasizes the cosmic horror of the unknown more than like gore or like I said, other supernatural kind of effects. More like a girl got stuck in a well and now she haunts people. You know, it's way more. It's way bigger than that. Like you were saying, Dave.
The movie It Follows.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It follows. It never lets you see what's happening with this impending sense of doom. Like, no, we have to leave. No, it's here. It's here. We have to get out of here. Because for the rest of their life, they are followed by this creature that they were not supposed to see. Mm-hmm. And it's a shapeshifter. It can blend in with everything. It's freaky. But when you finally see it, it breaks that trope.
Mm-hmm.
So like Bird Box.
Actually, maybe close. It might be kind of close to cosmic horror, but we don't ever really find out what that was in Bird Box, did we?
No.
I don't expect
So
cosmic horror to be tied up with a bow.
It maybe has elements of it, but anyway, I've got some other things written down here. So the way H.P. Lovecraft like kind of approached this was, it's like the way he wanted it to work is that the reality that kind of underlies like our perception of reality being so alien that if you were to see it, you would completely lose your mind. Like you would be completely bananas crazy after learning the truth of the universe. And that's actually a trope he uses a lot, or a kind of trope that he invented almost, is these people who find these, ancient texts that talk about their worshiping of Cthulhu, the drowned one, and then if by reading their texts and they're like, I think it was in Call of Cthulhu, he found like this little idol, like this black idol, like carved out of something, and when he touched it, he had this vision of Cthulhu, and from there on, he's like done for. Like he's just, those people selling pencils on the side of the street saying the end is near. Like those people are the smartest people in these kinds of universe. Like they're the ones that know what's going on more so. But some of the other like little bullet points I wrote down describing what cosmic horror is the fear and awe we feel when confronted by phenomena beyond our comprehension, whose scope extends beyond the narrow field of human affairs and boasts of cosmic significance, a lot like you were saying. Like it's bigger than we can even understand. Or like a contemplation of mankind's place in the vast, comfortless universe revealed by modern science, in which the horror springs from the discovery of an appalling truth. In Lovecraft's universe, that would be like discovering these amoral, eldritch abominations like Cthulhu, who just exist and have always existed since pre-human, like millions of years before humans. So like basically a fusion of horror and sci-fi in which presumptions about reality are just completely torn down. So that aspect to me is probably one of the cooler things. And some of the tropes I wrote down was eldritch abomination, which like I've kind of explained, this amoral Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And one of the tropes is called Go Mad from the Revelation. So it's like, I find the Necronomicon, which is like a fictional book in H.P. Lovecraft's universe, which lists all these ancient beings that exist out in the cosmos. And you read it and you just go completely bat.
Yeah.
Necronomicon Ex
I actually have a
Mortis.
Necronomicon themed tarot deck that's based on
Nice.
the artwork's based on H.P. Lovecraft.
Ooh, you've got to
It's
bring that
super
in.
dope. I will. It's my favorite one.
Ooh.
So I'll bring it so you can
That's
check
really
it out.
cool.
Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead.
So, if you aren't sure if a work is cosmic horror or not, ask yourself these questions. Is the antagonist evil or uncaring on a cosmic scale? We're talking a big bad who is capable of destroying humanity, planet Earth, the universe, or all three, and doing so with very little, if any, preparation or intent, and with about as much effort as it takes to swat a fly. Does the big bad have any human worshippers or servants? And if the said villain can destroy the world with a mere finger lift, why hasn't it done this already? Odds are probably because
Of the
it's
coon.
locked away or locked out of time, which I think Cthulhu, somehow he's sleeping, I think. Cthulhu's almost locked out and doesn't show up, to destroy the world all the time because I think he sleeps underwater. Like he's like, I don't know. I understand more about Cthulhu just simply from reading George R. R. Martin, because he definitely based the drowned god of the Iron Men off of Cthulhu. Big time.
Yeah.
And one of these questions is the attitude of the antagonist towards humanity disregard, simple pragmatism, or incidental hatred or disgust? Are the antagonists or its minions so alien in appearance or mentally or mentality that simply being near them or even seeing them is enough to drive a human to madness.
Sounds intense.
It is.
It's beyond the scope of comprehension, basically.
That sounds like Bird Box, though.
It does.
But
It's like the
almost-
more you talked about it.
But there's some. I think the most interesting thing to me is putting a couple of these bullet points I said together, like the contemplation of our place in the vast, comfortless universe. That we discover that the universe is inhabited. Yay! Aliens! But if it's anything like H.P. Lovecraft wrote, it would be one of the most uncomfortable truths we've ever learned, and it would not be this happy moment. It would be this just pure dread, like at knowing that we are like literally a bacteria blob on the side of a massive cosmic dragon.
The Mist. The Mist. Did you ever see that one? The Mist.
Oh yeah, actually,
Stephen King, The
yeah,
Mist?
about to say
Yeah.
I actually meant to kind of
Because
pique
the-
your interest on that because Stephen King definitely uses some cosmic horror
Yeah,
elements,
very
and
true.
plus nowadays a lot of people do because H.P. Lovecraft is super influential.
Well, that's like part of the reason he is so influential is because he created a trope. And if you're an author and you create a trope, because you look through that website and it's like everything is already made. Like now everything just follows a trope that's already
Yeah.
been created. And that's why somebody like H.P. Lovecraft is so highly regarded.
Yeah,
Like
TV Tropes calls him a trope maker and a trope codifier.
Yeah.
So,
Which is
I mean, like, this- yeah,
insanely
legend.
impressive. Yeah, legendary.
I want to see this tarot deck, man.
I will
Big
definitely
time.
bring it next time.
Okay.
You'll never guess what's on the death card. Cthulhu.
Of course.
I mean, makes too much
It's
sense.
gotta
Man,
be.
I would really like to. We'll talk about that later. You've given me an idea for a later.
What about
episode.
Army of Darkness or Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Because that's right along with. I mean, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis on that movie is literally the one that Lovecraft was writing about.
Yeah, they definitely mention that in the examples of cosmic horror. Let me get down here.
Inked in blood.
God,
and
there's so
bound in
many
human
tropes.
flesh.
There are so many tropes in this. Humans are insects. Mad God. Mysterious Antarctica. Primordial chaos. There's so many tropes.
Yeah, even Army of Darkness, like the rise of the zombie king in there, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's just
Yeah, it says in Army of Darkness, Ash drinks too much of the sleeping potion and wakes up after the end, which, given how freaky the scenery is, was likely a result of the supernatural forces mentioned in the Necronomicon running rampant.
Okay, thanks for the spoilers, guys.
These are old movies.
yes.
That doesn't
We
mean
can do
I've
that.
seen them.
I haven't either.
The spoiler
I
time.
read the spoiler of a movie I've not seen just to see if it fit what he was thinking.
Yeah, Tiny. Time's up. Over.
Yeah.
Plow. Snap back to reality.
Never. Time
hoof
is
ran
never
the-
up.
Well, time is up on this topic because now we have to move on to mine.
I know y'all wedged me in between two Star Wars
Why is that
topics.
just-
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
Should have just
Hey,
done
hey.
them together.
I
I
should
liked your
have.
topic too.
Yours was awesome.
Yours was really good.
I
liked
guessed
it.
what it was right
Well,
at
I
the
wonder
beginning.
if there's any.
You're like an Imperial Star Destroyer, man. You're just a wedge.
This wedge just cruised along.
There needs to be some good cosmic horror elements in a Star Wars movie. That would be cool
Oh,
if they
yeah.
added some of that stuff in there.
Absolutely. One that focuses on the Force in general and
Yeah.
the dark side of it. Oh,
Give me a Force-sensitive Cthulhu in the Star Wars universe.
That's why a Black Lantern movie would be incredible.
yes. As we learned what
I
those
mean,
were a
Aren't
few
we
weeks ago.
Technically living in a cosmic horror movie right now.
Well, we've discovered some uncomfortable truths, sure, but I just don't know on the scale of the fiction that we write about.
It's a hoax. I take that back. Take your
mean, the
laser
government is
beams
listening.
off of me.
The eyes staring through your skull from my face. Misa want to talk about a Bombad character in the Star Wars universe. If you guys
I'm
are
glad
okay
you said
with
he was
that.
bad.
Is that okie day? And Austin,
I'm
is he
absolutely
dead?
okay to
I think
talk about
Austin's
Jar Jar.
dead. All right, we're gonna talk.
You got the shivers too?
We're still gonna talk about Jar Jar Binks, and y'all are gonna have to sit here and listen to it because I want to do this.
I will, but only because I love you, Dane.
I love you too, and I'm only doing this because Carly's making me. So that's I've got to just to get that out of the way at the beginning. But I told her I would defend him to an extent, but there would be a whole lot of not that. Anyway, Jar Jar Binks is
I'll play the devil's advocate
okay.
on this one.
Good. Yeah, I'll help with you. There'll
That's
be
her-
two
that's
against
her
two. That'll be
favorite
good.
phrase.
Yeah. So Jar Jar is a Gungan, which is an amphibious race living on Naboo. and he first appeared in the episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in 1999. He was made to be a comic relief for children because Star Wars is for children just as much as it is for adults, even more so for children. But whenever you like, the one thing right off the bat that I will defend the creation of this character is that without some comic relief, the movie is about government deciding like what's going to happen, like between, I don't know, this blockade and stuff. Like it's all just like government stuff with a little bit of, Jedi things going on, and some pod racing. But
A lot of pod racing.
a lot of pod racing. But without the comic relief, like there wasn't much there for kids, honestly. Like I think it was more things that they would get lost in until you do the cool fast racing and the little bit of like lightsaber battles that we had. But so I get why he was made in that sense. But he was used less and less as the original prequels. I say original prequels. The prequels went on. He was hated by most people until there was this Sith Lord theory about Jar Jar.
That was
I'm sure you
true.
guys have
I got
come across
into
this.
that.
Well,
which
we
Dear
would
Lord,
know
8-pound, 11-ounce baby Jesus,
that
take me
theory
now.
hinges on him doing some sort of drunken kung fu type style,
There's-
which doesn't exist, right, Tiny?
Exactly.
Exactly. So we can
that's-
falsify that theory. Actually, I'm supposed to be devil's advocate, right?
Yeah, you're
okay,
supposed to
yeah.
be with me.
Shut up, Tiny.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
But we're going to get more into Darth Jar Jar later. George Lucas was actually inspired by Goofy to create this
I can
character,
see
which
it.
you can definitely
Absolutely.
see in the way that he's shaped and his height and just being a goofy character. Did you know that Michael Jackson wanted to play Jar Jar in the movies? Like he contacted George about wanting to play this Jar Jar character.
Oh my
but
God, of
he,
course he did.
He
I just
wanted
had a
it to be
visceral reaction to that.
he wanted it to be done with prosthetics, but George was like, no, like I want this to be a CGI character. So whoever's going to play it is just basically going to be a stand-in. So Michael wasn't the right fit for it.
He wouldn't
So
have got the accreditation for it that he wanted. My face looks like this for a reason. You gonna remember me.
what are you talking about?
You're not gonna make me look like no rodent from the grass who lives in the water.
I mean, he looked like an alien anyway.
Yeah, you got.
They wouldn't have had to change anything.
Michael Jackson should play himself in the Star Wars universe.
Ahmed Best was who played Jar Jar Binks. And he had the prosthetic suit on to where this way that the way the light would hit his suit is the way the CGI Industrial Light and Magic actually could see how the light was hitting him, so that way they could do the same thing in the computer generated Jar Jar. But it was also for the actors to be able to look up like at his character, because they needed them all looking at the same height towards his eyes because he's taller than everyone else. So it was a good reference for the actors to be able to look and see him rather than just somebody in a complete green suit with motion like detectors on him and stuff.
That movie was a struggle to make.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
imagine, because it
Absolutely.
was primitive as far as the way that you had to do your CGI acting and everything. So those people in their acting had to literally use your imagination just
yes.
to make sure they knew they were acting the right
Actors
way.
are going to have to do more and more of that now. Well, I mean,
Well, less and less
yeah.
now. Actually,
I
it's
remember
the
your
opposite.
topic too.
Yeah.
But there's still like that's one of the things that Samuel Jackson had to say. I think he was on Howard Stern or something, and they were like, asking him about that, and he was like, "Man, I tell actors all the time, get over it. Just use your imagination. Like, quit saying you can't act because it's a green screen."
And if he says it, then you got to do it.
Exactly. If Sam Jackson says it, you gotta listen.
I know in a lot of the prequels, because there's so much heavy CG, these actors, they never played 10-like as a kid because they could not 10-like people and things were there. Because the interactions with the CG characters and even with each other, the chemistry was not there.
No, not at all. That suit that he wore, that Ahmed Best wore, it cost $100,000 to make that thing. And when you look at it, like him in the suit, it looks absolutely ridiculous. But it just, for it to work the way it worked and look the way it looked, it costed that much money, which is ridiculous. Jar Jar was the first fully computer-generated supporting character in a live-action film. which I might have mentioned in my ILM
think you did, yeah.
topic a while back, but this was a perfect time to bring that back up. The only time that the actual suit was used in film was from just close-ups of like hands and feet of the character. Like that was the only parts that weren't CGI'd. In the Phantom Menace, the second movie that he was in, he was saved at the beginning by Qui-Gon while they were being attacked, and it all of a sudden like a life debt, basically, just like with the Wookiees, with Chewbacca and Han.
Rehash an old idea with a poor character that's only there to sell toys to kids.
Well, they did it, and they did it
went
successfully.
from song to anger, and it was not successful. I mean, they sold toys successfully, not a successful character.
Or wait, no, the Phantom Menace was the first movie. Sorry,
Yes.
I lied to you all. The Phantom Menace. I'm reading my notes all weird. So in the Phantom Menace, yeah, the first time we see him, he's being saved by Qui-Gon, and then he actually eventually helps persuade his people to aid the Naboo in fighting off the droids, the droid army, because the Gungan leader was not
Bossa Nas.
Boss Nass?
Bossa Nas.
Yes. The Gungans and the Naboo, they were always at odds with each other, and with Amidala and Jar Jar, they kind of went and talked to Moss. What was his name again? Nasa.
Boss Nas?
Boss Nos?
Boss
Yeah,
Nas.
whatever. So
No,
Jar Jar,
Boss Nass.
Boss Nass, thanks. So yeah, Jar Jar was able to help them kind of make peace and for them to fight off the droid army together. And Jar Jar actually served as a general in that little fight, which he only accidentally did amazing things by releasing some of their bombs and stuff to deactivate some tanks. And he's just constantly bumbling and fumbling around, but ends up doing good from it, which is where some of that, like, oh, is it all actually on purpose and he's just a genius kind of thing came into play. But anyway, the second movie he was in was Attack of the Clones, Episode 2. He was a stand-in for Padme in the Senate as she went with Anakin kind of safely away and then ended up getting in trouble, blah, 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 the rest of the movie. But Jar Jar was actually the reason that Palpatine came to, like, supreme power, because he's the one who voiced that they should do an emergency vote, basically, to make Palpatine like be able to have extra powers in the Senate to become the Senate. As
It was all Jar Jar's fault.
it was all Jar Jar.
They listened to the from across the street. That's what happened here.
I'm probably going to cut that. So do you want to rephrase it?
They listened to the from down the
I'm probably
street.
going to cut that. Is there another thing you want to say
I
instead?
don't know what else to say. They listened to the guy who was. They listened to a not bright man.
He's not
Yes.
a man.
He's not a
True.
man. I think that, I don't know, if he didn't make the speech, I think somebody else would have, but he just happened to be the one to do that, to get everybody to go along with it. Because for everybody to say, yes, that's a good idea, they were all probably thinking it anyway, but Jar Jar's the one that gets the blame for it because, well, he's the one who spoke up about it.
And there's that weird scene in one of the movies too where he just like looks at the camera and is like, "Ha, I'm in the movie," and then like walks off. Have y'all ever noticed that?
Real weird.
Yeah.
And then Revenge of the Sith, the third one he was in, his only line in the whole movie was, "Excuse me." Like, all he says is, "Excuse me." That's all he got. So working his way through 1, 2, and 3, he eventually gets just that.
Back to the shadows where he
Yeah,
belongs.
exactly. No,
Dark
you're supposed to be
side.
fighting for
Oh
him.
yeah, I forgot.
You're really bad at
He got the
this,
shaft.
and I'm okay with it.
That's how hard it is.
There was a scene in Revenge of the Sith that was cut, actually, where they were wanting to do, where Palpatine is mocking Jar Jar for him helping, like, to put Palpatine in power, like to where he's actually mocking him from doing that. He also appears next in the Clone Wars, the animated series. He's in 13 episodes, which spans across 7 seasons. I think it had 7 seasons, 7 or 8 seasons.
Something like that.
But yeah, he's in 13 episodes of that, and he's pretty much doing the same Jar Jar thing he usually does, which is fumble and bumble around, but eventually does a helpful thing because of it, which was kind of his whole shtick. There was a book in 2017 called Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End, where Jar Jar's fate is kind of like his story ends here because he became a street performer for children, and the adults like the adults of the city hated him because they knew he was the reason that Palpatine came into power the way he did. So he becomes basically a street jester.
That's super meta too.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was in The Force Unleashed, the Star Wars video game back a while back. Yeah. Vader actually has him frozen in carbonite at some place. I can't remember where it was, but in that's no long. I don't think that's canon any longer. But yeah, this book is actually canon with Disney approving it. So
in canon, Jar Jar is a street performer that all the parents will not let their children watch because they hate him.
But they hate him, and he's just trying to.
That's
make kids
basically
laugh.
what happened with
exactly
with Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Well, it's speaking to just Jar Jar's character in general with Star Wars fans.
It's actually pretty cool.
He was made for kids to make kids laugh, but all the adults hate him because of that. So in this book, he is the same character like for us as he is for these people in the book.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's really funny.
That's good. I'm glad they did that for him.
Also, you cannot feed him cornflakes. He's an amphibious creature. He will die.
Thank you, Nick. We love New Girl too much.
But what if you feed him after midnight?
No, easy with that.
No. Copyright.
We'll get here, to finish this thing off. We'll get into the Sith Lord theory for Jar Jar.
Bring it to me.
Because whenever people hate something so much, they're going to search for something good in it, even if they have to make it completely up. And a Reddit user, Lumpawaru, in 2015 did all this like research on all the things that Jar Jar did in the movies and the small things that he said or were said around him, and just the way he looks in scenes, like when he's looking in an area where there's nothing there. Like they're saying that he's like seeing like, I don't know, visions of the dark side or something like that, and being able to see the future, which is why he like fumbles around, but these things happen. But it all leads to Palpatine coming to power. Like, so everything that Jar Jar does helps bring that to fruition. So he was like, this had to have been on purpose. And the actor that played him, Ahmed Best, said that some of the theory was valid. He said a lot of it wasn't, but some of it was. And to quote Best, he said, could Jar Jar have evolved into that? I think yes. Which is crazy, because that almost makes it... It doesn't make it canon because he's just an actor. Mm-hmm. But J.J. Abrams has said it has to be true after seeing all of the research that Reddit user had done and the analysis that he made and the thought out and worded huge report that he made on it. J.J. Abrams, who has made 2 Star Wars movies, said, oh, I mean, it has to be true.
Well, I wonder how he feels about being dubbed Jar Jar Abrams now.
Oh, he probably doesn't care for that much.
He probably doesn't.
Unless he believes in this dark Sith Lord thing, the Darth Jar Jar. But the only person that hasn't said that it could be real is George Lucas. Right. So without...
Because, I think it's pretty obvious.
Don't give that man an opportunity or a secret fan cry for Jar Jar to come back, please.
No. But I get the thing is...
Disney would let that happen anymore.
I understand why everyone hates him. I, for one, have always hated him. But I mentioned with Carly, she loves Jar Jar. He's one of her favorite characters because she relates to him and that she is pretty fumbly. But a lot of times everything works out just fine and she ends up helping somehow. So she relates to him. Plus, she was super young whenever the movies came out. We were all pretty young whenever these came out.
Yeah, I mean, I never left those movies when I was that age saying, I hated Jar Jar. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
Exactly.
That's why it's fitting for his canon story to be the adults won't let their kids go and watch him.
Because we all, back then, we probably all laughed at him. Or just disregarded the character and just enjoyed the rest of the movie.
We weren't watching with any kind of critical eye. No. We were watching because we were kids and there was lightsabers.
Yeah, exactly. I just watched for the sabers. I was like, I don't know who this duck-billed boy is, but I don't like him because he talks just weird. Like, why? And, I'm not going to make fun of people who like him. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're all entitled to our opinions, even when they're wrong. But... I just can't get behind Jar Jar at all. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the actor even hates the character anyway.
I didn't see that. I did see where there was so much hate on Jar Jar as a character. Like, he had, the actor Ahmed Best had considered suicide at one point because there was so much hate towards something that he was representing.
I mean, that has
it
to
drove
be.
him to that
especially
point.
Something
that's
that massive.
Yes.
I mean, everyone in the whole planet knows who Jar Jar is.
Yeah, exactly.
And pretty universally hated. I mean, that has to weigh on your mind somehow.
And not hated because of actions of the character, just hating the existence of the character in general because it should have never been there. Because like the way we hate Joffrey from Game of Thrones, we hate that character so much
Because he's perfect for
it's
that.
perfect.
Right.
Because that character is perfect for that role. But Jar Jar, I think Jar Jar suffers from what a lot of negative things in Star Wars suffer from, and that is screen time.
Yeah.
Because
I agree 100%.
Disney, your idea you haven't had yet for your ever expanding, and I'm thankful for it, Star Wars universe. Our weekly release, Elseworlds, single episode, 55 minutes, hour and a half long, doesn't matter, on the best fan theories. Give us the Elseworlds option of Darth Vader if he did not have to become mechanical. What that would have been like. Give us that Jar Jar. Give us some Darth Jar Jar. Show that explained. And if JJ likes it that much, have at it.
Yeah.
that would be cool
on.
that would be a neat animated series.
Right,
A what
'cause
if
the-
animated series, basically.
Right, like the Marvel's doing.
Yes. Yeah, Marvel's done it,
And that's
DC's done
Disney's.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Hayden do some stuff again. I mean,
Well, he's going to be Vader again in
yeah,
Obi-Wan.
but he's gonna have a helmet on, and he's not gonna be doing the
they'll
voice.
show it.
I bet they'll
They'll show
have
it,
some
for
back
sure.
to tank scenes or
absolutely.
some meditation scenes.
Oh, yeah. We're going
Which
to
is
see
going to be
Hayden.
so cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be so cool.
But-
Because I think that's what we really need. We need to see how those two characters, Anakin and Vader,
Yeah.
coexist in the same body.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see that explored.
I know one of my favorite Legends things about Vader. It was a little comic book where this woman fell in love with him. She was like one of his personal nurses, and like you said, Vader spends a lot of time in the back to tanks, and he's got to scrub off the necrotic flesh and all these things. So it'd be really cool to see that play out. And I don't know why I talked about that because it didn't make sense to what the rest
No,
of I said.
well, it actually did to me because that's one of my future topics.
Nice.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That's a good one.
Twice tonight, we've
Vulcan mind meld.
oh my god,
So,
Can we touch index fingers?
only in our minds.
so can we all agree that we understand why Jar Jar is disliked so much, but we can also understand why he was used as a character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I
And-
understand,
okay.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
due to your eloquent research and justification of him,
Like reading Wikipedia.
he has been downgraded in my category to just simply hot,
No.
stinking garbage.
Okay. Okay. That's better than the full thing.
Yeah, no, pretty cool.
Yeah, that does go up. So I say we defended him a little bit, but yeah,
As much as we can.
As much as you
I'm
can.
still coasting on
As
the
you
drunken Jedi Master thing. I'm just
Star Wars has always been about merchandise anyway, and if you can make a kid's character that they're going to love and ask their parents for toys of, then it's still doing its Star Wars thing. So, but unfortunately, we don't have like action figures of us for fans to enjoy. But
Not yet.
what we do have
We will.
is a Twitter account, and that is @NerdGrapevine, and also on Instagram as well, where you can go see some little like mini clips of each episode to see if maybe that you want to find out more of why we're laughing that hard at something really stupid. That you can dial in on that. And when you're not listening to us, go check out Haunt Her, I Barely Know Her, which I believe at this point our good Shazam has already been on there, and that's very exciting.
that released, I believe, last Friday.
Okay, yes. So dial in there and check that one out. And then also Nightmare Town. Go listen to our friends there. Get some good spookins in. Yeah, we're going to be back next Monday, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And I want to know what love is.
What you show me?
When life gives you grapes,
Me?
you.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer. He looked at me. When life gives you grapes.
I already said that part.
Guys, that was awesome. High five. Yes. High five. Yes.
You pooped your pants.